Time is getting short for us to prepare. The U.S. has been the world currency for well over 70 years, close to 80 years. And this is what most of us know. Back in 1944, they signed the Bretton Woods Agreement, which tied the U.S. dollar to the gold standard. And it was that way for many years. And then in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. It was always converted, you know, the U.S. dollar was converted to gold, but it no longer is like that. Now it's just paper, you know, it's not, doesn't mean anything. It's only what it means to you in your hand, which pretty much every money is like that. With BRICS on the rise, and I know I've talked about this before a while ago. It has been a while since I talked about it, but BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They have an alliance, just like the United States and Europe has their alliance. BRICS is their alliance. So that alliance is growing momentum, and that is going to, the more that goes and progresses, they are working on a new world currency. And Saudi Arabia and Iran are looking to join that alliance. If they do that, where Saudi Arabia has traded in the U.S. dollar for oil for so many years, this can collapse the U.S. dollar almost instantly. It will be catastrophic for the U.S. dollar. Our money will be worth nothing. It'll be like any other collapsed country where the dollar is worth less than toilet paper, which is really horrible to think of, but it's something I think we all need to look at and prepare for. Just the other day, Saudi Arabia and other big oil companies have announced that they're going to be reducing the amount of oil that they're putting out per day by 1.15 million barrels a day starting in May all the way through the end of the year. They're going to reduce that output. This is going to cause the cost of gas to rise substantially. That's a lot of oil. So that's another thing we need to keep our eyes on. With all this stuff happening, and things can change on a dime. We all know that. One day, everything seems like it's going pretty well, and the next day, the whole world has fallen apart. And we are right on the cusp of that, I believe. I think we need to be prepared to take things into our own hands. No one is going to come and help us. If the dollar collapses, no one's coming to save you or help you. There won't be ration cards because there won't be rations to give out. We really need to be realistic. I know we have talked about recessions. We've talked about depressions. A collapse is much worse than that. Those would be much easier, and the government would still help people in a recession or a depression, but not in a collapse. The government would have nothing as well. So now's the time to really make sure that we're prepared. Checking on what we have for fuel stocks. I mean, you can only store so much fuel, but you can put stable in it to help extend that a little bit beyond, you know, if you just leave gas sitting too long, it's going to go bad and gel up, and it's going to be useless for you. But you can add additives to it and things like that to extend it a little bit, to make it go longer. And I think it's important, just like your food storage, you want to make sure you're rotating your fuel storage as well. So if you keep, you know, a little bit of extra fuel, and I know a lot of people can't keep tons of fuel, but I think everybody can keep a few extra gallons just in case, you know, something happened, you had to get somewhere, you have to get out, things like that. Having that little bit even, I think, is important. So it could be a lifesaver in that moment when something really goes awry. So making sure that our fuel storage is full. We all get to points in things where we're rotating it and we don't always fill it up right immediately. I do that. And then I'm like, wait a second, I'm getting low on this. I need to do something. So that's something that we try to keep our eye on. Checking your stuff every few months to make sure that you're not too low is also really important, and you can stock up on those things that are missing. So filling in those gaps, whether it is fuel supplies, food supplies, anything like that. And as long as you're rotating your stuff, you're going to want to keep a tab on your inventory so you have what you need. We also want to check on our home security. Is it up to snuff? Sometimes things happen, things break, things like that. We want to make sure that our home security is good. All of our outside lights are working. Lights really deter people. They don't want to be seen if they're doing something horrible. So having lights outside, solar lights, motion lights, whatever you have. I really like solar outside because it's not costing electricity, and if the grid goes down, it's still going to work. So I think those are really important. So those home security items are definitely something we want to keep on top of. And if you're in the city, it can get very dangerous. In an event of a collapse, we live in such an entitled flippant society. So many people think that you just owe them. Everybody owes them. We need to remember we don't owe these people. They are having the opportunity to prepare for this just like we are. And we have to be realistic. Yes, we're going to help some people, but you can't help everybody or you'll have nothing. So making sure that home security's there and we can protect ourselves from whatever kind of craziness there is. Obviously, I think cities would be much worse than if you live in the country, but I don't think it would be unheard of for something to happen out there as well. It's good to be prepared, no matter where you live. Also, making sure that we have got alternative electricity for the things that we need. I mean, I don't need TV. I don't need a blow dryer. I don't even use a microwave, so I'm not concerned about that. But making sure we've got what we need. If you are going to need to keep food refrigerated, there are alternatives. I mean, not right now. I'm not digging a hole out in the yard. That's not going to happen because there's still feet of snow out here. But in the event, in a warmer time or in a climate where you could, there are definitely ways that you can, bury a trash can to keep food cooler, or bury a cooler, bury whatever you have in the ground and cover it over in the shade. It's going to keep it cooler. Keeping the ground wet around it is also helpful to keep that cooler. And it can help save some of your food. A lot of people that live off grid have all these different methods of keeping their food cool without electricity. So it's definitely possible to do, but it just takes a little figuring out what's going to work for you. So making sure that we've got those type of things in place. And if you have medical equipment that's going to need electricity, hopefully you've got some kind of generator or something like that that can handle what you need. You want something that it could definitely last more than 24 hours, possibly 2 or 3 days. A bigger generator for smaller things is wonderful because it's going to hold and store more electricity, because not every day is a sunny day. So, and I know when it is really crazy and dark and rainy, we're not bringing in anything off the solar. We also want to make sure our medical and first aid supplies are full as they can be. We want to be prepared if there are no hospitals, no doctors, no dentists, that we've got this stuff under control, that we can handle it for ourselves and our families. Making sure that you've got all your first aid supplies, your over-the-counter medications, things for diarrhea and constipation. You want to make sure you have all that stuff. Emergency antibiotics. That's another thing that I think is really key to have. It is a bit of an expensive purchase to get started, but having it and knowing that you can take care of your family when you can't get help is definitely priceless. It's worth every penny in my eyes. And right now, I think we really need to, make sure we're ready for this and go through our stuff, fill in those gaps. If there's something you've been waiting on, I think now's the time. I don't think we have a long time to keep doing this. You know, we may have months, we may not, we don't know. It just, I think we really need to. And I would really love to hear how all you guys are feeling about this stuff. What are you seeing out there? Are you seeing different things? I will put a few links to some articles in the description box for you. But there, if you just Google any of this stuff, it is all out there, and it's being completely ignored from what I can see from any of the big news channels. That, you know, they're just talking about all this craziness, and we need to really focus on the things that are going to affect us, each and every one of us. We need to really focus on those things and just drown out all of this craziness, because that stuff just doesn't even matter. In my opinion, it does not matter. Making sure that we are able to take care of and protect our families is the #1 thing in my book. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.